overall as a whole with shooting photography, starting this photo group, what has it taught you?
Well, the biggest one has to be the importance of having a community, and I feel like going forward, that's going to be even more important because it's gonna be a rough few years soon, and it's very important.
Who am I here with today?
Uh, Daniel Iro, um, I am a photographer, and yeah,
All right. First, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to sit down with you to have
yeah,
this
man,
interview.
absolutely.
Um,
It's my honor that you want to interview me.
yeah, and I know when we were messaging about this and kind of setting it up,
Yeah.
um, you were like, "What are you going to interview me about?"
Right. I don't think I'm that interesting of a person.
No, trust me. I think everyone who knows you would be like, "Yeah, I want to see this interview and what he has to say," especially on
I
the
would hope
topic of
so.
photography.
Yeah.
So, just to get into it, how did you get into photography and why?
I have always had an interest in photography since I was a kid. I remember like my mom would have us take family portraits, and the photographer would give us back the film negatives
Mm,
and the printed photos. And I would just like always take the film negatives and the photo and just like try and figure out how they made the negatives become photos. Like,
mm.
how does that work? And I couldn't figure it out because we didn't have internet to Google stuff back then.
Right.
But yeah, fast forward a few years, I was in secondary school, which is high school here in the US. I had a Symbian phone, which is like iPhones before iPhones were a thing,
Mhm,
and I would just take photos with that. I had like a Nokia. This was when they had that partnership with Zeiss.
mhm,
So I had one of those Symbian phones that had special cameras, and I would take photos of my friends and just take photos in general of everything around me. And and then I would back all those photos on my laptop
mhm,
that I had at the time, but I didn't have any other source of backup for those photos.
mhm.
So one day my laptop died, the hard
Oh,
drive failed, and I lost all my childhood photos.
dang.
Yeah, everything I have ever taken pictures of until that point, they were all gone. And the only thing I had were pictures I had posted on Facebook,
Mhm.
low resolution pictures, and nothing else. So I swore that I was never gonna take pictures again because I was like, what's the point?
Mhm.
I'm just gonna lose them again. And when I got into college, when I moved here to the US and got into college, I really didn't take any pictures for a couple of years. So like freshman, sophomore year of college, I don't have any pictures, not even a selfie of myself,
Mhm.
because I wasn't taking pictures. And then fast forward to 2016, I started riding bikes,
Mhm.
and I would just like find interesting stuff on my bike rides, and it got me to actually start taking pictures with my phone again.
Mhm.
And then I remember one morning in 2020, right after the pandemic started, I was riding to work one morning and it was foggy outside, and I took this picture with my phone. And I remember I was looking down at my phone, looking at the picture I just taken. I was just talking to myself. I was like, damn, I should have taken this with a real camera.
Mhm.
Because if the phone picture looked this good, I can only imagine what it would have been like with a
Right.
real camera.
Mhm.
So when I got back home from work that day, I just went on eBay and I started researching film cameras because I told myself that if I was ever going to get back into photography, it would be with film cameras
Mhm.
because even if I lose the digital photos, I'll still have the film negatives.
Right.
And it was just like kismet of like it just took me back to when I was a kid and looking at those negatives and how they became printed photos. I was like, I guess I'm going back to that now instead
Mhm.
of with digital photos, which is funny because I do shoot digital now,
Mm-hmm.
but back then I was just like, I'm only gonna start with film and shoot film and just get into film photography, and yeah, that's how I got into photography once again, was taking pictures with film cameras.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic because at least every photographer I've spoken to, it always stems back to childhood
Yeah.
and memories of taking pictures, and then just not being able to find pictures, or even if you do find a few photos you might have, it's just like,
Hmm.
man, I wish I had more of these.
Yeah.
Um, so that's definitely interesting. And
Yeah.
so childhood 20 or starting bike riding, and
Hmm.
then 2020 you get into film photography.
Yeah.
How would you describe your style from that point on once you started?
So for a while, I was just taking pictures of my bike
Mm-hmm.
in interesting places, and then I started making friends in the bike community around town, and whenever I would go on rides from like 2020 onwards,
Mm-hmm.
I would bring a camera with me on those bike rides, and I would take pictures of my friends during our bike rides,
Mm-hmm.
and I would get back home, develop that film the same day, and then post the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, I did get a digital camera because I was like, man, film is expensive.
I definitely
I need
understand
to
that.
be able to get these pictures out faster, and also just not have to spend so much every time. So I was kind of by 2021, I would say I was like shooting film digital 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was mostly taking pictures of my friends, just you know how like you're in a group of people
Mm-hmm.
and they're all comfortable around you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you start pointing a camera at their face, they get used to it at
Mm-hmm.
some point. So it was kind of that way with my friends, was just like I would just like take pictures of them smiling and
Mm-hmm.
not really noticing that someone with a camera is around, or if they noticed me, they didn't care as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting a lot of candid moments that
Mm-hmm.
way, and through that way of just like capturing my friends, I really like leaned into like taking a lot of like candid portraits, and I developed that, and that kind of became my shtick, where it was like, if you want someone to capture candid
Mm-hmm.
portraits, I was the person that my friends at least would want to do that. And it didn't go unnoticed because eventually one of those bike friends that I had met at a bike race, she was getting married and she hit me up and she was like, hey, I want you to come shoot my COVID wedding. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to be in our basement. It's just going to be a family. I was like, you sure? Because I am not a professional photographer. I don't know much about cameras yet, but she was very confident in the photos I had posted, and she said she really liked the documentary
Mm-hmm.
style of my photography, and she wanted me to just like come capture the day. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, fine. I can do that, capturing people in their natural elements. So uh, that was how I ended up shooting my first wedding. And after I shot that wedding, it occurred to me that yeah, I do actually like taking pictures of people just being natural.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, uh, till this day, I feel like capturing small moments, as I like to call them, is the thing that I enjoy most about photography. Is just seeing people being natural in front of the camera.
And to that point, I think like anybody who shot film or started out shooting film,
Yeah.
like you said, you realize this is a little too expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
even though you really enjoy that process and it allows you to be kind of more creative with it, you
Yeah.
understand like, okay, I have to get some type of digital camera because this just isn't for long term, or
Yeah.
it just isn't feasible. But also too, that feeling of like you're with your friends, you're capturing the moments more genuine moments where everything isn't posed, or even if it
Right.
is posed, you can't tell because you have a way of
Yeah.
kind of being like a fly on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and to your point too, like your friend noticed that, she saw it, and I think it's kind of like a lack of that now, whereas social media, everything has to be planned perfect.
Yes.
But at least from my perspective, I'm starting to see kind of that transition back. And it's interesting because digital cameras came out. I know when they first started coming out, people thought film was going to be obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who's shot film, they can tell you like there's just something about shooting film, going through that process, that it
It
will never
slows
go
things
obsolete.
down.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
never going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I should digital now the way most people should film, where it's like I don't know if it's because I've shot film for so long. Well, not really that long, but I've shot film enough times now to the point where the way I shoot film has kind of transferred over to the way I shoot digital,
mhm,
and not to be someone who's like passionate about one camera brand over
mhm,
another, but it was the very thing that drew me to like shooting with Fuji film
mhm.
cameras because the way they were designed, all the controls
Yep.
had the layout of like a film camera,
Right.
and that just made things just like made me carry over the way I shot film easily to the digital world,
Mhm.
and yeah,
I think everybody who dives deep enough into that is gonna eventually end up with Fuji, because it's like
yeah,
Canon and Sony, they're gatekeepers for what they're meant for.
right,
But if you want that traditional film experience where you're looking through the viewfinder,
yeah.
um, you're being more selective, and you're slowing down, you're gonna go towards them. And
Hmm.
then that's kind of just like the entry market one, and they're for them to kind of be entry level or consumer based, they're still expensive.
Right.
And then you get into like your Leicas and then your Hasselblad, and it's just like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
I
to have
don't I don't
crazy
know
money
if
for
I don't know
that.
if I'm ever gonna have money for Leicas or
Hmm.
Hasselblad someday. That would be the dream. But yeah, for now, Fuji film cameras scratch that itch for me
Hmm.
when it comes to like, at least the digital aspects.
Right.
It's like yeah.
All right. And then two, so you're speaking about taking photos of your friends, capturing those genuine moments.
Hmm.
Eventually, that led to North Side Photo Walk.
Yes.
How did that
Um,
happen?
so
And kind of explain what it is for those who may not know.
So Northside Photo Walks is this weekly neighborhood photo walk here in Northside, Cincy. And the way it kind of started was just someone had added me to like a group chat for local photographers here in town. And um, one day I had gone to this camera show. I'd gotten this film camera for like $3
Hmm.
and I wanted to test it out. And I was telling you before you started recording that I only just moved to Northside this January.
Hmm.
So I haven't been in Northside that long. So I was just in my head, I was like, I could just use this as an opportunity to like walk around the neighborhood because I haven't done much of that. And this was back in March. So I hadn't really done much walking around because it was during winter.
Hmm.
So I reached out to a friend that had been, we've been like online friends, and we've met a couple of times before then, but our relationship was mostly online. But I knew it was in the neighborhood as well. So I reached out to him and a couple of other people in that group chat and asked them like if anyone wanted to come on out to go for a photo walk around Northside with me.
Hmm.
And three people showed up, and it was a really fun um, thing.
How many people?
Three,
Three? Okay.
yeah. So it was really fun. And then of the three people that showed up, I'd only met that one friend. The
Hmm.
other two people were completely new to me, and we hung out afterwards, and it was just really cool getting to know them. And it's just like, man, this feels great.
Hmm.
So the next week, I extended that invitation again to the group chat, and again, three people showed up. It was two people from the previous week and
Hmm.
one new person. So I was talking to my old friends that I had known for a while, and I was just saying how this whole thing feels great just to be able to walk around the neighborhood and also just share this passion with other people that have the same um, passion of photography like I do.
Hmm.
And I asked him like, "Do you think we should keep this going?" He was like, "Yeah, absolutely. We should keep this going." So uh, that's how it kind of started. Was just afterwards I mentioned it in the group chat that hey, I'm gonna keep this thing going. If
Hmm.
anyone wants to keep coming out on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. And then I started inviting a bunch of people I knew
Hmm.
personally as well. I was like, "Hey, I'm starting this thing in Northside. If you want to come out and just take photos around the neighborhood," and it just kind of grew from there, where
Yeah.
friends were telling each other about it.
So now, on average, how many people show up to these weekly walks?
The biggest crowd we got was this summer. This past summer was we got almost 52 people show up,
Okay.
and nowadays an average of the walks is like 20 to 30 people show up regularly. So
See,
yeah.
and that's impressive. And it makes me want to hit on the point. So, being as a person who kind of started off using cameras and mostly doing video,
Hmm.
and then transitioning into photography and film,
Yeah.
I noticed the difference. Like with video, you may meet people out and have conversations, but we aren't linking
Hmm.
up together for the most part
Right.
and shooting videos together as a group,
Yeah.
unless it's like a project.
Yeah.
Photography, it's a whole community. You
It's
feel the
social.
difference.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people like come to the photo works under the impression that oh we're gonna do street photography during this photo work, and like you could do street photography during the photo walk, but the way street photography is done is you usually trying to blend into your environment
Hmm.
and not be seen so you can capture like things going on in the streets. But like when there's a group of 50 people walking around together, it's not quite the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's definitely not.
Yeah, so for the photo walks, it's not so much about us taking photos, which still fine. We still a bunch of us still do that, but
Mhm.
it's mostly about just the community of just like meeting people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because the ones I've been on or been able to attend,
Yeah.
it's more so talking to people
Hmm.
um, that have a mutual understanding of photography and
Yeah.
what goes into it and your experiences with it.
Yeah.
Um, so finally, kind of just to wrap things up, I have a couple of questions for you. DSLR or mirrorless?
Um, if I'm shooting film, uh, there's only one option, but if I'm shooting digital, I don't really care.
Hmm.
Yeah, I the only thing I care about is if I want a portable camera, and if that's the case, mirrorless would always win.
Hmm.
Yeah, but if I like a camera and it's DSLR and I'm gonna use it for a specific purpose, then I don't really care what is inside it, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I love cameras, but I'm not really picky about
Hmm.
gear. I have all sorts of cameras.
And I've always noticed that, like, diving into the photography community,
Yeah,
you have people who are like, "Oh, this is the way," or "You don't look through your viewfinder, you're not a photographer. If you don't
no,
shoot manual, you're not a photographer," and all these different discussions.
yeah, I don't really care about any of that stuff.
Mhm.
I like collecting cameras, but I'm not really like super loyal about any of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, overall as a whole, with shooting photography, starting this photo group, what has it taught you?
Well, the biggest one has to be the importance of having a community, and I feel like going forward, that's going to be even more important because it's gonna be a rough few years uh, soon, and it's very important that like we have communities of people that we can lean on, and just having a space where people feel like they can make friends, but also just like be themselves and part of being yourself is also being able to express yourself. And photography for me is a creative outlet. And I feel like it's a creative outlet for many people as well. So having that space to do that with other people is very important.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And this has been 20 minutes or less.
Awesome.